Welcome back to In Pursuit of Magic, where we explore the things that inspire us, connect us, and the magic we find along the way. I'm Matthew Medina, and today's very special guest is a multi-talented actress, singer, and dancer who's no stranger to taking on a wide range of roles, from being friends with Cruella de Vil in Hong Kong Disneyland to taking the stage and learning multiple parts. She's been making her mark. She's been part of some iconic productions like Sister Act 6, Tootsie, Footloose, Jekyll and Hyde, but these days you can catch her setting sail in the Broadway hit Titanique. I'm very excited and honored to welcome the amazing Kristina Leopold. Kristina, thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me. So exciting.
Me too. I'm so excited to dive into your career and all the exciting things because there's such a mix of things that are really exciting and things that I love. And on top of some of your personal interests like Star Wars and Disney, which I'm a big fan
We
of
don't
both.
play about
So
Star Wars.
not at all. I was like, I need to wear something specifically because I'm dealing with a Star Wars fan. So I put on my Millennium Falcon shirt. I got
Is that
my Attack of the
your-
Clones. Yeah. I was like, we got to
Yes.
do this. But
Iconic.
before we dive into that, we got to talk about the Tony Awards because Titanic got to
Yes.
perform,
Oh my
which was
gosh.
huge, on top of being nominated for a bunch of categories. But
Yeah.
those performances, apart from the opening and then the solo performance, was big. And I'm thinking you guys have to rehearse this and perform in the midst of 8 shows a week.
Yeah.
So tell me what that was like in terms of rehearsing and balancing doing the actual shows too.
Oh my goodness. Well, we rehearsed the opening number on our one off day. So we all had to get up. It was 9 a.m., I think, was the start of rehearsal at Radio City for the opening number. And it was so cool because you're walking in and you're seeing everyone that you've ever looked up to ever, all in one big lobby. So it was so exciting, but it was also like, well, there goes our rest day. And some people had 2 shows that day. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And then we had 2 shows Friday night, 2 shows Saturday, and then we had to get up, be at the theater, hair, makeup ready, wig, lash to get on the bus at 7 a.m. to go over to Radio City to do the run through. We came back, we did a 1 p.m. matinee, and then we went back to the Tonys. Like it was just like the most chaotic, swirling, exciting whirlwind ever. So exhausting, aka why I am now under the weather. Because I usually don't get sick unless I don't get sleep. And my body said, "Oh, it's giving home at 11:30, and we have to get up at 4 to get pretty and warmed up to go to." Okay, so maybe we get sick now. But so fun, so rewarding.
Well, kudos to you guys because you're already, I feel like, athletes in the schedule that you have on stage. But then putting this into the mix, it's a whole other thing. It's a whole other level. And
Oh yeah.
so I'm curious about that schedule going back and forth on the bus too, because how does it
Mhm.
work also with doing the performance and the opening? And then do you go back on the bus before you do the second performance?
Sure do. Yeah. So you get on the bus, you go to Radio City, you get off the bus, you do the opening number, you get back on the bus, you wait, and then we get off the bus, do our performance, get back on the bus, go back to the theater, and then obviously the nominees take their seats in and out of that. So kooky crazy girlfriend is what it was doing.
Yeah. I'm just imagining that back and forth, that schedule. I feel like I saw someone post you spend more time on the bus than at the actual Tony Awards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I was thankful that we had the opening number because if it had just been our performance, I would have been like, oh, that was so fast. But
Yeah.
because we got to have the opening number too, it was like we were back there a really long time. I'm like saying hey to Shoshana Bean, Dylan Mulvaney. So it was like, this is great. Like we're just kikiing with all these other casts. So I'm really thankful that we got to do that as like a company of Broadway performers, in addition to our own thing. Yeah.
I'm really glad you guys got that time too to interact with other cast members because I'm thinking with all that hectic, crazy schedule, I can't imagine having much downtime to really mingle unless you go to an after party. But by that time, you're exhausted.
Period. And when I tell you I went home, I said, I think I'm done. I gotta go to bed. Nana has to go to sleep. My cast calls me Nana because I will be in bed. So I was like, Nana's gotta go to bed.
I mean, I don't blame you because at the end of the day, you have to take care of of yourself because you are performing. So you got to take
Yeah,
care of your instruments.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I have to start with what first inspired you to become a performer and made you want to get into this kooky, crazy world? Because
Be
it's a
crazy.
lot, but it's also it
Yeah.
seems so much fun and gratifying when you love what you're doing.
Totally. I'm so lucky. Like, we're so lucky to do the thing that we love. That's just like rare and cool, and certainly was not necessarily something the generation before us got to experience. So us millennials get that privilege of doing things that we're passionate about. Tackily enough, I started thinking I might want to perform from an aptitude test in school. So we like took a career aptitude test, and mine came back, you're either going to want to be a teacher or some sort of singing performer. And I double majored in English and musical theater. So I've kind of always had like teaching bone in me, my whole family, generations of educators. And then always had the love of singing and performing. So I did that also. So ironically enough, as they come together, I was doing extra credit for my English class by seeing a production of Big River at the local theater playhouse, which starred Derek Klena. This is like 2007, maybe 2006. We're from the same hometown vibe. And on the back of the program, it had auditions for their summer musical, which was The Wizard of Oz. And I was like, well, my aptitude test says that if I want to maybe try this, that I should just go audition for things. So I auditioned, and that became the first show I ever did. And I loved it, and I have not gone back.
It's amazing because it seems like you were destined for it, and once you got, like, that sign off
Yeah,
from that test, you were like, "Alright, I'm gonna do both." And
right.
it seems like they also keep meshing in that way where they kinda cross into one another because 'cause you're also do vocal coaching, and so I'm
Yes,
thinking that's educating while also doing the singing.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was really important to me. I grew up like really speech therapy land. I've taken a lot of speech therapy classes. I was a speech and debater. So I have sat through a lot of this is how you talk correctly classes. And then when I got to New York, I was like, I'd like to become certified in voice coaching just to make sure that I'm taking care of people's instruments that they trust me with. So got certified, and I voice coach now when I'm not performing, which is so rewarding and fun. And I just love pouring into people the way that I got poured into growing up.
Well, and it shows because I feel like your passion and love for both teaching and singing from a young age kind of just still shows itself, which is incredible because you really are enjoying it, which I think is important with educators. You know, I love teachers, and it's rare sometimes, unfortunately, to find the kind of teacher that really invests in you and
Hmm.
like pours their heart into you. And my best friend's a teacher, so I hear kind of the struggles and obstacles she faces like all the time. And no matter what you're teaching, you end up facing that. But it takes a lot of love for what you're doing.
For sure. Absolutely. Teachers are heroes. We should
Yeah.
pay them so much more.
Oh, please. Well, in terms of also obstacles and hardships that everyone goes through, it happens a lot in creative industries and entertainment. And so I'm curious when those moments come up for you, whether it's a no or a closed door, something that didn't work out or took you in a different direction, how have you managed to deal with those moments and not let it put out your fire and just keep going?
I think no's, oh, it's like two separate categories, right? Because there's like career and life. I think no's in life, I am a big believer in the Lord. So I'm like, if he's slamming a door shut, I'm going to listen and go the way that he wants me to go. And I think no's in theater are nothing, so they have so little to do with you, as a talent and a person. It's so much more to do with, are you the right height, ethnicity, build, all those fancy things, and as a super mixed girly, a lot of times I don't fit the categories that they want, and that's okay. It has nothing to do with me. And if someone is willing to see me and want me as a being, then I'm like, amazing. But it's like that's lightning in a bottle, and I know that that's rare, and, I think the less I'm somebody that is a very hard worker, so I think that I leave everything on the floor to such a level that I'm like, it doesn't have anything to do with me. I just might not be the right fit, and that's totally okay because I did everything I could. So I think that's how we keep the fire alive is through work ethic and working hard and knowing that like it really can't have anything to do with you if you've done everything that you can. So yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a very healthy and important way to look at things because I think especially when it's something that you're so passionate about, it's hard not to create kind of a very personal attachment and feeling toward these interactions and experiences where it almost feels personal, even if logically you know it's not. And to
totally.
detach yourself from that in a way, but also let it be personal enough that it still means so much to you. It's a balance, I feel, and it takes work over time.
100%. Totally, and I've, like, completely gone through the gamut of seasons of, like, okay, in this season, I don't care about anything, in this season, I'm caring too much, and kind of, like, finding where is my happy balance. Because some people do so much better when they're like, "I don't care about this project, it's whatever," and some people, including myself, do well when they're like, "Ooh, I could really see myself doing this, I'd actually really like to do this project." So it's like, there's no right or wrong answer, it's like a but finding how much is healthy for you to pour your heart into a project when you haven't been paid for it yet, is like a important balance, I think, to find, and it takes like you said, it takes time, so but it's makes it so much easier when you find that special combo that brings you peace.
Yeah, and I think maybe part of that is knowing yourself. You're talking about how personal the journey it is, and I think when you are sure of who you are, that really helps along the process. Which then makes me curious because you've had so many awesome roles. Is there a particular role or production, even behind the scenes, that really taught yourself a lot as a performer that really stands out among the rest?
I think oh, tricky. I think the first, like, huge professional principal role that I had was Esmeralda in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And it was at a time when I'm usually ensemble girl, like, 3rd girl on the right. Like, that was normally the vibe up until that point. And I think that was the first time that a team saw me as a leading lady. And I think that through the strength of that gorgeous character and the empathy of that gorgeous character, I learned that I can hold down the fort of a show, that I can be a woman of color that has men that desire her in a show, or characters that are played by men that desire her. Uh, like, usually the object of affection was, like, always a white girl, and I just, like, never saw myself being something that could be desired like that, so I think I was like, "Oh, wait, I can be this, like, leading lady, this romantic lead who's also fiercely strong," and I think it encapsulated everything that I like to do as a performer, um, which led to all the other gorgeous roles that I've gotten to do. I was thinking about Melissa because we have both been Vanessas. Obviously, hers was on a much larger scale of In the Heights. She is Latin queen of my life. But to get to do characters like that are so layered and so strong, I think taught me so much about how I can hold myself and be grounded on stage. And I think that the how sturdy I am on stage and how present I am on stage wouldn't have been possible unless I had played Esmeralda first. So I think that was probably like a sharp turn in Christina's mind of what she was capable of.
I find something so amazing about that because it's a lesson that I keep trying to learn for myself and hearing from other people that sometimes you don't know what you're capable of until you do it. And it
Mhm.
seems like that wasn't just a lesson that you learned with playing this role, but you also learned it because of the character. And as someone who has always been inspired by Hunchback of Notre Dame specifically, but also a lot of Disney movies and musicals growing up with the protagonist, I think it's an incredible thing that you got to learn that about yourself through Esmeralda, because I feel like we don't always get that opportunity. Puerto Rican, and so I didn't always see myself as, like, the white prince, of the tale.
Totally.
But then there was characters like Aladdin or even the Beast who, his human form was one thing, but the Beast looked like the Beast, so he could be anyone really. Um, and those were like my 2 favorite characters growing up. So I think it's a beautiful thing that such a beautiful character could teach you that about yourself, and at such an early point in your start that was like your first big principal role, because I think from then on, you got to take that with you and keep in mind that you are a leading lady and you have what it takes. And, you've continued that with the acting, the singing, voice coaching, and I'm just thinking it's a lot, especially 8 shows a week we were just talking about, and then doing the Tony Awards. So I'm curious how you balance vocal health and technique with the physical and emotional demands of doing so much.
Sure. Um, I think what's gorgeous about Titanique is that for me, it is a fairly simple vocal as a BGV. And I think Rose also is a simpler vocal. It's certainly a lot, but it's not very rangy. So it's like once you kind of sit in your spot, if you find your pocket, you're good to go. Molly is kind of all over the place, vocally, but she does sing the same harmony line as I do in my own track in the show. So it already has a bit of home for that, where the only big thing you gotta pump out is all by myself. So I think in general, I'm really thankful that this is a simpler track. Um, just for my voice. I've certainly done the 10 out of 10 difficulties of the Jekyll and Hydes of it all. And I'm thrilled to have a bit of a breather. So this show, I think, has been more so, yes, finding the stability of vocal health, but more so finding, okay, this show isn't Six the Musical, as in terms of vocal demands and physical demands. So how can I become a person outside of the 8 shows a week? Have a lovely husband who I adore. And I'm like, how can we have a full life? In addition to being on Broadway, so that I can remember in my mind that career and life are 2 separate things. So that's been a nice opportunity to find that balance since I'm not in a show that's as taxing as some of the ones I've had to do before.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's very important for your mental health too, just to keep you grounded and, like, keep you sane.
For sure. Yeah. Because I'm such a let me pour myself into this wholeheartedly and completely, and I get swallowed up by it typically. But upon even just meeting my husband 3.5 years ago, I was like, there's more? I had no idea. And just he has really shown me that there is a way to completely have a career that you is full and that you love, and have a life that is also full, and that they can go parallel to each other. So yeah, it's been a nice transition.
Yeah, and very important, I feel, especially when you're doing so much, and I feel like they feed into each other. They help keep the fire going on each end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, speaking of that, though, I'm curious about, are there any funny or surprising backstage stories, either on Broadway with Titanique or in other productions that really stand out in terms of just making the experience and the process feel really magical for you?
Mm. I think, well, I will say so far in my very little Broadway career of 2, I have been very, very blessed with amazing casts. And my 2.0 cast of Six the Musical were all Broadway veterans, that are extremely talented, predominantly women of color. Uh, and their kindness and silliness, meant the absolute world to me. And now to be in a cast of some of the celebrities I have looked up to since I was a wee little thing is absolutely insane. And the fact that they care about me and are so kind and hilarious and inclusive and just like have my back is wild. So backstage all in all is just like I've been surrounded by so much love. And of course silliness, because silliness, but that's every day. So um Yeah, I am so, so lucky. Yeah, just such amazing, hardworking, talented, famous people. I'm very, very
Which
lucky.
is also so important, I feel, because I know all productions are not created equally, depending on who's running the show and who's part of it. And
Mhm.
so when you find that like second family, because that's what they become, because you're spending so much time with them, it's very important.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. I'm so thankful.
It's so important to kind of create the second family with the people that you're performing with because you spend so much of your week with them. I can only imagine like getting really close between rehearsals and then performing for months.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I pray over my casts more than I pray about the project. I'm very like, I want to be surrounded by good people. And even if it's a show that I'm like dying to do, it's like it can be so ruined if it's not with the right people. And the fact that I've gotten so fortunate as to have two casts that I adore, would die for Jim Parsons. Okay. um, I'm so, so thankful.
It's incredible because it does translate, I think, both on stage and behind the scenes and everything you guys post together. You just see that connectivity and the way that you guys genuinely care about each other and cheer each other on. And it's a beautiful thing. I've seen the show twice and got to interview several people from the show already. And I was watching the show on Sunday with my wife, and we both got sentimental watching you guys perform because we just know how much it means and how special of a show it is. So it was just incredible to see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're so lucky. Thank God.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit also about your transition from regional theater to tours and Broadway, and wondering what was the biggest adjustment for you. Because I'm also thinking, knowing what I know about tours, that's a lot because you never know what to expect in live theater in general, but when you're going to different cities and different locations and different theaters, it is a big surprise. So, what was that like transferring from different types of productions and how they work?
Oh, well, we went from regional theater in California, I'm from LA, to Hong Kong Disneyland, where I did Nala and Lion King, and then also Cruella, um, and lots of special events in there. And then we went to Broadway, and then we went to tour, back to regional, back to Broadway. So it's been a fascinating connect the dots of all of the things. I think that the biggest transition, it's hard to say because I low key, high key think, and I say this to anyone who asks, like, what's the biggest difference between regional theater and Broadway or tour or whatever? And I say that there isn't really one. I think the biggest difference, super transparently, is just like the money that's invested into the production and therefore the caliber of technicians. Um, I just because of the systems that certain regional theaters back in California had. There are days when you're praying over the soundboard, hoping that a radio signal doesn't cancel the connection to your microphone, or when they say cell phones off, they're really pleading cell phones off because it'll interfere with the mic signal and da 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 da. And you're just hoping that all of the cues are going to happen on time. And like, you don't got to worry about that on Broadway or on tour. Like, my mic is always going to be on when it needs to be on. Because the systems are just that good, and the technicians are that good. So I guess that's the biggest transition, is just like there's a bit more peace of mind. I get to focus more on me just creatively and what I need to do as a performer. Um, but certainly, I think the transition from living in Hong Kong, which was the entire pandemic, um,
Wow.
to then moving to New York, where I only lived in California or Hong Kong, was a huge adjustment. I am still learning to be a New York girl. It is still not my favorite place on the planet. Um, I am certainly still here because of my husband, who I met here. Um, and he is a New Yorker through and through. So he is teaching me the ways to love New York, but I miss my car. I miss quiet, and we are figuring it out.
Well, it seems like you're very flexible with moving to so many different places and adjusting, which makes me so curious what it was like working in Hong Kong
Yeah,
Disneyland during
yeah.
the pandemic, because I can only imagine it was chaotic a little bit.
You know, I think it was transparently the opposite, and I think that because the rules about COVID in Hong Kong were so strict, um, there wasn't much COVID, um, because of the quarantine laws and the mask mandated laws and the vaccination laws, um, and we were sitting there, us Americans that were working over there being like, do we have a little bit of like survivor's guilt almost? Because we are collecting a check, performing, doing musical theater for people, in a place where we are going to concerts and we're allowed to go to restaurants and simply because everybody followed the rules. So it was a very fascinating time to be one of the few places that was actually open for performing safely. Um, so yeah, it was a weird like survivor's guilt type of situation. But I was very thankful to be employed through the pandemic, let alone employed doing something that I love, um, let alone playing a Disney princess and just like being so thrilled to do that. So yeah, yeah, that was the pandemic in Hong Kong.
I mean, that's incredible though. And it goes to show you were where you were meant to be, I feel. And it's such a unique, special experience to do that, especially during that time. And so I don't know, it's refreshing to hear that that was your experience, and incredible, because I've always been so curious about the Americans who go to the parks in other countries and work there. And you went at the most like chaotic time around the world, which is so awesome to hear that. Yeah, that really it's all it took. People followed the rules and it was better.
Yeah, and faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while you were there, what was your favorite attraction? I'm curious.
Oh, Hong Kong's got some good ones. It's a small
I know.
park, but it's small but mighty. I do be loving the Grizzly Gulch roller coaster. It's, like, similar to Thunder Mountain, but it's better. Uh, Winnie the Pooh ride is the only ride that has a fast pass in Hong Kong Disneyland because
Wow.
it's just very aesthetically cute, and they love it. So that's another good one. I think the shows in Hong Kong are so good. Like, the Lion King
Yeah.
show is just kind of like the full-length musical, but shortened into, like, an advert type of size, to fit the theme park, but it's still got the same, like, mega mix that the park in Florida has, but the whole rest of the show is different. So it's just such a good just such a good time. Pyro, fire knives that are from Samoa, um, it's just very cool. So,
It's definitely on my list of parks because I want to go to all the parks around the world. So yeah, that's great
yes.
to hear. It sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, you gotta hit
And
it,
on the
and the
oh,
the
I gotta.
snacks are so much better.
Oh,
You gotta
the
have the
snacks.
snacks.
Between the
You have
snacks
to
and the
have a
merch.
pineapple bun. Oh, the merch is second to none. Like, you you can't find better merch. Like, they do it right. But you must, if you ever go, have a pineapple bun,
Oh, I
from the
gotta.
bakery. It is the best thing I've ever had.
Just hearing it sounds amazing because they have the unique like flavors of stuff over there that they don't have here. I'm like, come on,
Mhm.
like let's open it up a little bit.
Yes. So
Well, in
good.
terms of the things that you love, we mentioned briefly that you also love Star Wars, which I'm also a big fan of. So before I get to my serious question, my fun question is: if lightsabers were real and you could have one, what color would it be?
It's purple because the black people have purple, and that's just fact. That's canon. It's
Well,
purple.
Sam Jackson, like he's the one who created it. He was like, I want purple,
Right,
and
you said,
George
"I
Lucas was
no, I
like,
want
well,
purple."
he was like, I was like, all right, we're gonna do purple.
Right. So therefore, it's canonized. We're doing
Well, I
purple.
love it because it's such an awesome color and it looks great, and not a ton of Jedi have it, so it's always great when it
Right.
pops up and I'm like, yeah, purple.
Yeah. It's purple.
Well, my
Yeah.
serious question about Star Wars is how has your love of the fandom and the world affected maybe your approach to character work or storytelling or your love for it? And on the flip side, what would be a dream role to play within that universe?
Oh my gosh. That is the best question I have ever been asked in my career. Um, Here's the thing. Sir Ewan McGregor, he is doing Shakespeare, okay? Harrison Ford, they're doing Shakespeare, and that's why that dialogue plays in their mouths. That ability to take control of a language to make it sound natural when those words shouldn't sound natural in the way that in the rhetoric that they're written in is beautiful. And me being an English major, have an English degree, I'm like spoiled with riches at their interpretation of that syntax. And I think that that has really paves my way to be like, there's no such thing as dialogue that doesn't fit in my mouth. I just have to figure out a way syntactically that it can fit in my phrasing that makes it make sense in my cadence, but is also elevated. So I think that they have this beautiful, yummy interpretation of that language that I have been like, no, you can make anything work. You because some of those lines are cheesy, all right? But you wouldn't know coming out of their mouths because of how they interpreted them. So I think that's the beauty is like, no, 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 you can make anything work. Ewan McGregor did it. I can do it too.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny. I completely agree. And it's funny that they've released each movie in book form in Shakespearean language. And
Yes.
those are fun to read because it's like, yeah, this flows really well. Like I could see this working. And like you said, it's the way that people interpret it. I think of like the famous line, I've got a bad feeling about this, said by so many different characters and in different ways. And yet it always still works. It hits.
Yeah. It hits every time. Yeah.
Well, on the flip side of that, because we were talking about Star Wars, but a little bit back to Disney, what was it like stepping into the shoes of Cruella de Vil, which we don't get to see too
My
much in the
gosh.
parks?
I know. Terrifying. Um, Number one, mostly because I was like, how do I talk like that? Um, how do I get that really deep accent, gravel tone healthily? Because, and even at the time, I don't know how many records I broke with how many days in a row I worked, but both of my other track mates were ill or injured at the time. So I was working 7 days a week, 6 shows a day for a long time. So I was like, how on earth do I do this? So we have character training. You meet with a character trainer who walks you through just the animation. So they walk you through how to pose as the character, how to walk as the character, which is so fun that it's like specific because we, in any other time have to make that up ourselves. Like, what does our character lead with, or how does she stand, or whatever. So to just kind of be handed that as a rule follower girly pop, I was like, amen. I'm happy to just abide by the rule. Um, and the face and the makeup plot and all of that was very specific. Um, but then being like, okay, now how do I find this voice healthily? And I realized that, like, I have quite a hearty laugh. I'm a throw my head back and there's a little bit of grossness in the sound of it. And I was like, I wonder if I could talk like that in that same spot of the like, "Ah!" Like, I wonder if I can speak like that. Figured out that I could. And then I was like, can I sing like that also? Figured out that I could. So I was trying to be in a very healthy, this is where Christina's voice makes gravel sound healthily. And how do I just expand on that to get through this and sustain this track? And we did somehow. So crazy, um,
Yeah.
so scary, so fun once I got the hang of it. Um, And I think, like, without Cruella de Vil, there would be no Catherine of Aragon, and there'd be no Molly Brown, and I think that it does go in that order. So,
That's
thankful for
amazing to
it,
hear
for
your
sure.
process because it's just an incredible not only process in general, but I think your personal process of how you went through it and found your Cruella is really cool. And was it just for performances or did you do like meet and greets with guests?
No, it was just for
I was
performances,
gonna say, yeah.
thankfully. In character training, you do have to do fake meet and greets, which is just so silly. But no, I was very relieved. The lovely peeps in the park that are friends with all of these characters and do meet and greets, I am just blown away by their improv skills. I do not share that gifting. That's not my fruit of the spirit. So I am so thankful that they did not make us do that.
Yeah, it's funny because I've seen guests really try to like challenge the characters and catch them slipping, and they're on it.
Uh-huh.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a thick packet. They give you thick packets, and you are watching the movie over and over and over. It is well researched.
I can only imagine. I think that's why the magic feels so real when you're there and you're really immersed in
Yeah,
it and interacting with them.
yeah.
But it's so much fun, and I'm sure it has created so many memories for people watching you perform. And so that makes me curious about for you as a performer, is there a particular song or performance that every time you do it or every time you did it for a while gave you chills every time?
Hmm.
Or most of the time, if not every time, because you do get
Yeah,
into a cycle.
it's probably doing Heart of Stone in 6, uh, which was my Broadway debut, was Seymour in 6. Um, but there's something that just anytime I see a Seymour of color, it is so rare. Um, just because of the nature of, like, how the original cast shook out ethnically. It just, like, happens to be it's kind of like a spot that you repeat as being of similar type, and it is it always just hits a little bit different, I think, coming out of the mouth of somebody of color. Um, Also, without getting, like with getting deep but not getting too deep is, like, I do understand I'm a victim myself of domestic violence and abuse and am divorced from that and am so proud of myself to be. But I think that there's something to it to proclaim a victory of a character who stayed, um, and that there's no I chose to leave, but there's so many women that don't get that opportunity. And to get to tell that story from that perspective, I think always is just gonna hit a little bit special. And mind you, I'm not thinking about that at all when I'm doing a performance. I'm very big on, like, we don't need to pull from real life experiences to inform the work. Like, I'm not super methody in that way, but just to honor something that I went through and that so many women, and men go through, um, was very, very special, and I think just hit different every time.
That's amazing to hear because yeah, that is a very powerful character, and I think the angle that you're talking from also is very special and unique and doesn't happen enough on stage, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think you were part of something very special by doing that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, in terms of other people being touched by your work and having dreams and trying to chase them, I'm curious what's a piece of advice that maybe you wish you can give your younger self when you were first starting out?
Ooh, young Christina. Of course, with the implication that everything that has happened has led me to where I am, and I'm so thankful, and I think that with advice being given to my younger self, it could have changed a path that I wouldn't want to be changed now. But I think I would tell her to, like, let it be deep for her. I was very like, no, this means so much to me, and everything meant so much to me. And I think a lot of people tried to be like, Christina, it's not that deep. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like my senior year musical, and I really want the lead in the senior year musical. Like, it's so deep to me. And people were like, LOL, or me getting to like a national like, getting to nationals in speech and debate was, like, so deep to me, and everybody would be like, this doesn't matter," like, whatever, but I think it would be to let it be deep, like, things matter to me, and that's encouraged my dedication to being excellent in what I do, and I think that couldn't happen if I was like, "Oh, whatever." Um, Even attached to what we were saying about auditions at the top of this is, like, I'm the kind of auditioner that's gotta care a little bit, and it means that it hurts a little bit more, but I wouldn't do as good of work if I didn't care, so I think just to let baby Christina care deeply about the things that she wants.
I think that's very important advice. And as someone who feels deeply and the things I care about are very deep for me, I relate. And so that doesn't mean that we don't have the understanding of logistics and realities, and we're aware of all
Yeah,
that. But I
yeah,
think we should feel what we feel. And I think that's what kind of fuels us. So I'm
period.
very glad to hear you share that because, yeah, I think it's very important. And now you're in a show that has a lot of passion and chaos and joy and a lot of love. And I know you may not know this. And if you know anything, you may not be able to talk about it yet. But has there been rumblings or hopes for a cast recording album?
Thing, and that's the God's honest truth. I think there's a lot of other things in the works that would have to happen to bring that to light. Um, I would love that this cast would get that opportunity, but I have not heard a thing. Would love, but I'll keep my fingers crossed with everybody
Sam.
else.
I'm crossing my fingers too. And my last two questions are, where do you find magic in the world? And how do you hope to create magic for others?
Whew. I think I find magic in the world very simply through I live across from Astoria Park, which is just, like, so pretty, green, there's water. It's, like, so not New York, like, it looks like it should be somewhere else. So, certainly through that, and then these days, specifically, it is, like, through my cast. It is through these extraordinarily famous people who have no business giving me the time of day, but love me hard and have my back, and, like, I was so relieved in rehearsing with them and working with them to find out that they are so talented because they are such hard workers. And it the magic that they bring to me is showing me that hard work does pay off. Um, yeah, so that's that. Um, and then magic through me, was that the second half? I'm very much a ministry of being person. I was told from a very young age that as a believer, excellence is our key to the outside world, AKA nobody's gonna listen to you unless you're excellent at what you do. Um, and I hope that being the person that I am who is very hardworking, almost to a point of psychosis, but it's healthy, I swear. So, yeah, so I hope that my hard work, dedication to my craft, and just the, like, I don't know, just the vibe of everybody's story is gonna be completely different, nobody's journey is the same, and I hope that just by existing in my wacky connect the dots journey can be someone's inspiration to be like, "Oh, I can just work hard and trust that the good Lord's gonna take me wherever I need to go." So I think that's my
Absolutely.
hope.
Well, I think you're very successful in that. I think you're a magic maker, like a lot of the people I have on here. And I think it's true that it shows. It comes through very clearly, and I think that's why it was such a joy to have you on because I was like, "There's something about her." Like, there's just like this aura and essence about you that stands out, and you clearly love what you're doing also, and like you said, you're a hard worker, and that shows too. So it's been such a pleasure to have you on to learn more about you. I'm inspired by your story and the things you've shared. And I'm so excited for you and the cast. And I know for everything that happens next, Titanique has been such a joy, but I feel like the people who are making it happen 8 times a week are so special, so talented, so hardworking, and so kind. So thank you for being part of that and sharing your magic. It really was a pleasure having you on.
Yay, thanks for including me.
Of course. And before we wrap up, normally I tell everyone out there to go and do some magic, but I would love for you to say your name and tell everyone listening to go out there and do some magic.
Okay. I'm Kristina Leopold, go out there and do some magic.
You heard her, and go see Titanique through September.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.